Let's see if I nailed it. Tell the truth, baby. Welcome to More AJ. I'm AJ Moore, and today it's Southern Style Smothered Pork Chops by Smokin Grillin Wit AB. So first, I'm taking my 2 nice center cut pork chops, rinsing them and letting them soak in some vinegar. Next, I'm roughly chopping half an onion that I will set aside for later because that I'm going to use in my gravy. Now that my pork chops are finished soaking, I'm patting them dry and getting them ready to be seasoned. So I don't have the exact seasonings that AB used in his recipe, so I'm gonna go ahead and use this. I purchased this at a Caribbean store recently, and I've been dying to use it. So it's a garlic scallion allspice seasoning, and I tasted a little bit of it, and it's really, really good. It has a nice amount of salt in it, so I'm not gonna use any additional salt. And I think it's gonna come out good. So now I am generously seasoning my pork chops on the first side. And then I'm going to go ahead and season my flour as well. According to the recipe, this is how it's done. Now I'm adding some paprika, again to one side of the pork chop and also to my flour. So the last seasoning I'm using is some onion powder. So I'm gonna go ahead, generously sprinkle the onion powder on the first side of my pork chops, as well as get that seasoning into my flour. You gotta rub that seasoning in, just massage it in, make sure all that flavor gets into the meat. And now I'm gonna turn the pork chop over and do the same thing on the second side. So now I'm getting all of my seasons nicely blended in with the flour because this is going to be the coating for pork chop. I'm getting my pork chop nicely coated on both sides along with all the edges. I love that sizzle sound when something is frying. You already know something good is coming. After my pork chops are in the pan, I'm gonna let them get nice and brown and golden on both sides. Wow, that's pretty. Not as pretty as AB's, but they're alright. Now that my pork chops are done, I'm going to take them out the pan and let them drain on some paper towel. Next, it's time to fry the bacon. Yes, there is bacon in this recipe. Bacon makes everything just a little bit better. Now, the purpose of frying the bacon is to get that bacon grease because the bacon grease is going to be used to make the gravy. It's gravy time. So now my bacon grease is nice and hot, so this is the time to add my already seasoned flour. Now this flour is the leftover flour that I used to flour the pork chop, so it's already seasoned. So now I'm mixing it into my hot bacon grease and whisking it up. And then I'm adding 1 cup of chicken broth. Right, I'm adding 1 cup of chicken broth. Eventually, I will add a total of 2 cups of chicken broth. AB said this would be easy, and so far he's right. Now I've made gravy plenty of times, but this is my first time making a gravy with bacon grease. It smells so good. In goes my 2nd cup of chicken broth. I'm just giving it a good whisk to make sure that my gravy comes out nice and smooth with no lumps. Looking good and smelling good too. Okay guys, right about this point in the cooking, I realized that I missed a step. You remember those onions I cut up earlier? Well, yeah, I was supposed to saute those onions in the bacon grease first before I started the gravy. So, since I missed that opportunity, I'm gonna have to saute my onions in a separate pan. Since my onions didn't get that flavor from the bacon, I have to put a little seasoning on it. So I just put some salt and pepper. Now I'm checking on my gravy, and the gravy is looking good, y'all. So I'm gonna add my sauteed onions into the gravy. I gave it a little taste and decided to add a little bit more of the seasoning. So my gravy got a little too thick while I was sauteing my onions. So I'm just gonna add a little bit more chicken broth. Nice. Now that's looking perfect. So now I'm adding the pork chops back in. I'm gonna cover my pork chops with a little bit of the gravy, and then I'll put the top on the pan and just let it cook down a little bit. So right now I'm heating up some leftover yellow rice that I already had. I gave my husband an option. I said, babe, do you want me to make you fresh white rice, or do you want that yellow rice in the refrigerator? And he said, it doesn't matter. So I heated up the yellow rice. Now I'm plating. I'm putting a pork chop on top of that and some of the gravy with the onions. Remember that bacon I fried? Bacon doesn't go to waste in this house. I ate 2 of those strips and used 1 to crumble on top of the dish. Okay. Let's see how I did on this Smokin and Grillin with AB's recipe. Let's see if I nailed it. Tell the truth, baby.
Yep, you nailed it.
Wow, I nailed it. Awesome. Yes, I nailed it. Yay! Thank you, Smokin and Grillin with AB, for the awesome recipe. My husband has been wanting me to make something like this forever. So, right, baby? You always want a smothered pork chop. So I finally made it. I used your recipe. It came out great. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Thank you. Thank you for watching. Bye.
Bye.
Give it a thumbs up. Yes.